Audible Studios presents The Strength of the Few, written by James Islington, performed by Ewan Morton.
For my son. Catenin Rankings. The rank of Princeps receives will from 46,232 people. Dimidius, 23,115 people. Tertius, 7,704 people. Quartus, 1,925 people. Quintus, 384 people. Sextus, 63 people. Septimus, 8 people. Octavus, none. Part 1. Omne Trium Perfectum. Chapter 1. Obiteum. Fear, my father once told me, is simply our realization of a lack of control. And that is why, when we are afraid, sometimes the only way we can cope, the only way to dull the edge of that lack, is to put our faith in those who appear not to suffer it. Wait. Run. The words are barely visible beneath pulsing crimson. Blood slides down my wrist, crawls across my palm, and flicks dark droplets from my fingertips as I lope after Ceror through the red, flickering, fuzzing tunnel. The circle of bronze blades is long behind us, the labyrinth not far ahead now. My cuts ache. Ulkiskor's brother tried to explain why I had to make them. It was a message, to myself, in another world. It's too bizarre to process yet. It was the steady urgency in his voice that swayed me to action, bloody and surreal and painful though it was. That, and the desperate need to believe that he truly grasps what is happening here, that he actually knows how to get us out of this nightmare, that he is in control. How do we get past the remnants? I pant the words, still weak from whatever it was that happened to me back there. My voice is small, deadened by suffocating stone and hazing red light. They're in res. Ceror doesn't look back. So is the labyrinth. I don't have time to doubt him. The tunnel ends ahead, and he's proven right. Nothing guarding the exit. No walls burst from the ground. No waves of chittering obsidian death spring to life as we hurry, me tentatively, out onto the same expanse of stone upon which I was desperately navigating a maze less than an hour ago. And yet everything is otherwise identical. Same vast austere hall, same platform with its red glass balustrade at the far end, which we head straight for. Wait. We need to step on at the same time. Ceror pauses as I position myself beside him. Now. It's a tight fit. We need to touch the railing together too. And now. The balustrade glows. We rise, me catching my breath from the run. The hall is quickly replaced by darkness all around, leaving us bathed in scarlet. Ceror turns to look at me, dark and wiry, scruffy beard and curly hair framing the violent old scar that stretches from cheek to where his left ear should be. Different from Ulkiskor in so many ways, and yet with those same intense brown eyes, it's impossible to mistake them for anything but brothers. You're real, aren't you? His smile is suddenly there, a dagger to the tension. Broad and radiant, he's giddy as he studies me. Tell me you're goddamned real. Yes? I'm still disoriented. Don't know how else to respond. He looks upward and, to my shock, releases a bellow into the devouring abyss ahead, a whoop of unadulterated joy. Relaxing his grip on the railing as he stops, inhales, and then does it again before breaking down into plain